Hi there, this is Ranjit and I have the Samsung Galaxy J5 with me, and in this video we'll be doing the full review. And I have been using this device for 3 weeks now, and for first 5 days I used it with my primary SIM, and later on I used it as my secondary Android device. And if you just look at the specs, this Galaxy J5 does offer a lot for its price. It's sold in India via Flipkart for rupees 12,000. I'll have the link for Flipkart in the show notes. And it is powered by a Snapdragon 410 chipset, which is a quad-core processor. It has 1.5 gigs of RAM, a 13 megapixel rear-facing camera, and a 5 megapixel front-facing camera with LED flash even for the front-facing camera. So from a specs point of view, it looks very good. And also it has a Super AMOLED screen, which is a 720p HD screen. So the specs look very good for the price. But is it that good? Let's find out in this review. So this is the Galaxy J5, and first let me give you an overview, and in the later part of the video I'll also show you the pros and cons so you can judge if this device is for you or not. First, let's talk about the design. In terms of design, I would say you will not be that much impressed. It just looks like an old Samsung device, the designs that we saw in 2012, 2013, and even in early 2014, that is plastic. So entire body is made up of plastic. As you can see, nothing that special. We have a 5-inch screen, that is a 720p HD screen, and now it's a Super AMOLED screen, and the screen quality is really good. The viewing angles are nice, and we also have one mode here that is called the outdoor mode. So if you even use it outdoors, you can just enable that, and thereby it'll be visible even in direct sunlight. As you can see, it goes to insane brightness. But you'll immediately notice one other thing is that it does not have any auto brightness sensor. So we simply don't have an auto brightness sensor. And before we proceed regarding the configuration, let me give you a physical overview. On the top, again, you have this fake chrome-like finish, but again, this is plastic. And on this end, we have the power button. We have an indent to open the back cover. I'll show you that. And on the bottom, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, the micro USB slot that will be used for charging the device, the main microphone, and on this end, just the volume rocker. So in terms of looks, I would say it just looks ordinary, nothing that special. But when we move to the rear facing camera, it has a 13 megapixel rear facing camera with f1.9 lens. Hence in camera, the performance was actually above average compared to most other devices. Also, it has a LED flash opening for the speaker, but in terms of speaker, I would say the speaker output was not that great. It is fairly low in my opinion. And again, it's a 4G device and it's a dual SIM device. As I told you, we can open the back cover. It can easily be opened, and again, as I told you, this is plastic, nothing special. And we can actually add two SIM cards that are micro SIM and also a SD card. As you can see, I added a SD card, and the battery is a 2600 milliamp hour battery, and I have to say the battery life that I was getting on this device is incredible. I'll show you the stats later on, but let's move. So the back is easily openable, but again, it's plastic, nothing that great. Now, interesting thing is regarding the front facing camera. It has a 5 megapixel front facing camera, and this camera can also record video in 1080p, so that is good. And also it has this LED flash, so we also have a LED flash for the front facing camera, but again, don't mistake this for a LED notification light. Again, the LED notification light is also missing on this device. And again, it's the 5-inch screen, as I mentioned, and these are two touch type capacitive buttons. One is for the multitasking tray, and as you can see, overall the performance of this phone was nice. As I told you, I used my primary SIM on this one for 5 days, so in general performance it was nice, and even with multitasking it did fine, I would say. But again, I don't like the fact that these buttons again are not backlit, as you can see, and also they don't provide any haptic feedback. But if we talk about the Android version, as you can see, if you go to the about the device, it's running on the Android version 5.1.1, which is Lollipop. So you are getting the latest version of Android, so that's a good thing. But again, when we talk about internal storage, this model comes with just 8 gigabytes of internal storage, which I feel is okay for normal users. But if you're sort of a power user and if you like to install a lot of games, then the storage might be an issue. For example, as you can see, I've installed a couple of games and some apps, and now the available space that I have is just about 766 megabytes. Yes, we can add a micro SD card up to 128 gigabytes, but the problem is you cannot move all the apps directly to the SD card. So I would say this phone is fine if you're sort of a normal to a casual user, but if you're sort of a heavy user or a person who likes to install a lot of games, then the storage might be a limiting factor. Now, before I proceed, let me give you a configuration overview of the J5. The Galaxy J5 is based on the Snapdragon 410 chipset, which is a quad-core processor clocked at 1.2 GHz. It has 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. Regarding the GPU, it's the Adreno 306 GPU. It has 8 gigs of internal storage, a micro SD card slot, which accepts micro SD cards up to 128 gigabytes. Regarding the screen, it sports a 5-inch Super AMOLED 720p HD screen. And moving towards the camera, the rear-facing camera is a 13 megapixel shooter with f1.9 lens, whereas the front-facing camera is a 5 megapixel shooter with LED flash. Also, it supports 4G LTE bands in India, and the battery is a 2600 milliamp hour battery. Now let's move to the performance. As I mentioned even earlier, the performance of this phone was very good. It is running on the Snapdragon 410 chipset, and I thought, yes, it might be a little bit laggy because of TouchWiz, but the good thing is that we are getting the new version of the TouchWiz, and this is pretty light, so I feel it was able to handle it fine. And as you can see, we get some new features with this new TouchWiz, like cleaner and device security. So we have those handy features, and also if you can actually go here and customize the quick toggles. Another thing is that we also have the ultra power saving mode with this device. So Samsung has added those features on this device, so that's good to see. And overall, I would say the performance of this device, as I mentioned even earlier, was good. Also in terms of web browsing, etc., it did very well. As you can see, this is techmeme.com. Let's go to another website. We are connected. And by the way, this is not the default keyboard. This is the Google keyboard that I have installed, and I would suggest you install this one because with the default keyboard, you don't get any haptic feedback. But with this, Google keyboard, we can get the haptic feedback. So I would strongly suggest using this keyboard instead of the default keyboard. That was the first thing that I changed. And as you can see, this is the full version of Rediff, and again, it loads it very well. So in terms of web browsing, etc., I did not have any issues with this device. Also, I did quite a bit of gaming also with this device, and for the most part it could handle most of the games without any issues. But again, as I mentioned earlier, the internal storage is a bit limited, so you simply cannot install a lot of games, so you have to be aware of that. But one thing I did like is that it did not exhibit any overheating even with gaming. Now, if we talk about the battery life, here I was really impressed with the battery life that I was getting on the Samsung Galaxy J5, and I used it both on Wi-Fi and even on 4G. Yes, it works on 4G. I tested it on 4G in Hyderabad with Airtel, and let me actually show you the battery stats. The battery stats that I got were very good, and as you can see, it was almost about it says 19 hours 40 minutes of battery. So almost, let's say it's about 20 odd hours away from the charger, and still I had about 19% battery left. And in terms of screen on time, as you can see, I got a screen on time of about 5 hours 33 minutes. So you can get almost 6 hours of screen on time with this device. And when I was using this device, I never had an issue regarding the battery life. So in terms of battery life, Samsung has done a very good job, and this is without any power saving modes. I never use the power saving mode or the ultra power saving mode. You do have those modes. So in terms of battery life, I was very happy with this device. Now, again, if we talk about the build, as I told you, it's plasticky. But one thing I do not like about this device is that it is just very, very slippery. There is almost no grip on the back, so you have to be careful. I accidentally dropped it twice in 3 weeks of usage. So I would suggest some sort of a back cover if you're planning to buy this device, because simply it just does not offer any grip. Now, if we move to the important sensors, here I would say Samsung has done a very poor job with this Galaxy J5. They have skimped on a ton and ton of sensors. If we just go to the sensors, oops, this is an ad. If we go to the sensors, as you can see, we just have the 3 basic sensors. That's the proximity sensor, orientation, and the accelerometer. We don't even have sensors like compass, etc. As you can see, it gives an error that the sensor is not there. So only the basic sensors were there. Also, in terms of multi-touch, though I never faced any issues of touch, the touch response was very good. But in terms of multi-touch, again, it just has 2 multi-touch points. So again, here I feel Samsung did some cost cutting. When we talk about the camera, here I was really impressed. The camera performance of this device is really good, and we do have this gesture. If you just double tap quickly, it opens the camera, and it loads it fairly quickly for a budget-oriented device. And we do get all the modes: tap to focus, and you can take the pictures. If you have stable hands, I would say you can take some very good quality pictures. In fact, as you can see from the sample shots, it takes very good pictures in outdoor conditions, and even in indoor lighting conditions. If you are a little bit patient, you can get some decent shots. So even in terms of camera performance, the camera performance was really good. Also, when we move to the front facing camera, that's a 5 megapixel shooter. Here also, I would say the front facing camera performance was very good. And even in the video department, the 1080p video that I shot was almost, I would say, among the best in the budget range Android devices that I've seen. So in terms of camera, I would say the camera performance is very good. But again, one thing to note is that it does not have any sort of, image stabilization. So when you take pictures, you have to be careful, I would say. I would suggest that use this timer function to get better pictures, because whenever you try to take a picture, if you hit this, it might just shake up. It's better to use the timer. That way you can get a lot better pictures, in my opinion. Now let me break down this device between the pros and the cons. Let's first talk about the pros, or the good things about this device. The best thing that I liked about this J5 was the battery life that I was getting. The battery life is very good. Also, as I mentioned, the camera performance, both the rear facing camera as well as the front facing camera, are among the best in this price range. Also, the Super AMOLED screen, that's a 720p HD screen, is good. Samsung has put a good quality screen on it. Also, in terms of the overall performance and the response with the new TouchWiz, it works very well. Also, we do have the theme support, and these themes also work very well. I did try a couple of themes on this. Even when we use these themes, it worked very well. So overall, I would say the phone is pretty much optimized for this new TouchWiz. Now, if we move to the cellular call quality, again, the cellular call quality was also very good. I tested it again on 3G and even on 4G. So overall performance in terms of cellular call quality was also very good. But again, I would say the speaker output is very low. So if you are a person who likes to use the speaker phone a lot, then you will be disappointed, because the speaker is actually very weak on this device. Also, this device does support USB OTG out of the box. You don't even have to install any third-party software. For example, I just plugged in the USB OTG drive, and it will be detected and will automatically open the file manager. And let me actually show you the speaker output now. The speaker output is not that good. I'll maximize the volume. This is the maximum volume. The screen quality, as I mentioned, is very good. The viewing angles are really nice. But in terms of speaker output, it was not that loud. And that also affects the ringtones. So I would say if the phone is in another room, you will simply not hear it, because the speaker is very low. Now let's move to the cons. The first thing is regarding the build. Again, it's just too much plasticky, I would say. And also in terms of looks, it does not look that great in my opinion. Also, as I mentioned, the device is very slippery, so you have to be careful with it. And again, as I already mentioned, the speaker output is also very low. Now regarding the sensors, again, Samsung has omitted almost all the sensors. Even we don't have basic sensors like auto brightness, and again, other sensors like the compass, etc. So Samsung has really skimmed on the sensors. In fact, they haven't even provided haptic feedback on these touch type capacitive button, though we have haptic feedback. So I feel that's a really bad move by Samsung. Also, as I mentioned, the internal storage is sort of low. It has just 8 gigabytes of internal storage, and out of that you just get about 4.5 gigabytes. It's okay for a normal user, but if you're sort of a power user or a person who likes to install a lot of games, then the internal storage might be a limiting factor. So as you can see, this Samsung Galaxy J5 is sort of a mixed bag. As you have seen from the pros and cons, the highlighting facts are the screen. The Super AMOLED screen is good, but again, Samsung tries to cripple their own devices by not putting proper sensors or even omitting simple things like auto brightness sensor. I simply feel that Samsung does this to just not compete with their own existing products, and thus I feel the Galaxy J5, though it's a decent device, the battery life that we got was very good. Some of the sensors they have removed, and also some of the silly things that they have done. The speaker output is really low. So I do feel the device overall is a very good device, but again, just weigh down the pros and the cons. And this device might be for you if you particularly like Samsung devices and your budget is not that high, because in overall performance, the performance of this device was good, but certainly I miss the fact that Samsung has intentionally omitted quite a bit of sensors. I've also posted other videos on the Samsung Galaxy J5 covering its camera review and the gaming review. In fact, I would say the camera performance is also very good on the J5, so make sure you watch those videos. I hope this video was helpful, and if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit and I hope to see you in my next video.